Well, that brings us to our featured speaker for the evening, and that's Lynn. You can give your own introduction too, but I'm going to introduce a little bit. So I have traveled with Lynn back in 2016. She took us to Anilao, and it was absolutely fantastic. So here's what I know about Lynn. She's been diving in the Philippines now, I think, for about 50 years, right?
1975.
Lynn was a TWA flight attendant, and fell in love with the Philippines that way. I don't know how being a flight attendant, and you've said you've been in like 3 plane crashes, right? So, I don't know. No plane crashes. Oh, maybe there's 3 shipwrecks. I don't know. But no. So Lynn fell in love with the Philippines during her flight attendant days, and retired. I think has been retired from the airline business as long as I've known her, and has been going back and forth to the Philippines once or twice a year for all of that time, and has been doing amazing photography work. And she's also been very generous to this group by giving us a presentation pretty much every year. So thank you, and then I'll let you introduce yourself further.
Okay, can we hook me up?
I will hook you up.
Okay, this show is going to be very different. Normally I don't talk about what I've done, but I was given the gold medal by the Society of Women Geographers on their centennial, and they've only given out 32 gold medals. So, well, first of all, I didn't think I deserved it. I mean, it's of the 32 people, it's Jane Goodall, Dr. Sylvia Earle, Dr. Jeannie Clark, Kathleen Sullivan, who's the astronaut who's not only been in space, but the deepest part of the world, in the Marianas Trench. And I mean...
so you're in good company.
Well, it was like I had to prove that I did something. Because I mean, when they called me and told me they didn't tell me I was even running for it. I said, oh, this must be spam. There's no reason I should be in this. I'm not a geographer. These women, I mean, have built dams in Saudi Arabia and done all of this stuff, and lived in Mongolia and lived in yurts and done all this stuff, and I just had a good time diving. Now, anyway, can we turn out these lights? I worked too hard for my color to get that. Thank you, Abhishek. MGM has their lion, and am I in your way? I can sit down. Tyler Moore has her kitten, and I have my lionfish. The adventures my camera have provided, and the fact that I worked for TWA for 40 years, and the combination of flying and free passes and a camera opened up doors when all the environmental groups needed someone. They would call me because I could get you pretty much free, and I'd shoot things for them. So it was an interesting way to do this. I have been accused of sleeping with those cameras, and it's simply not true. But notice the books on the right. Some of the adventures that I have been privileged. This was about 1977, and we heard that Sandy, the dolphin in San Salvador, would come out and swim with us. This is a wild dolphin. So we went down there, and we were the only boat out there, and this dolphin came out and swam with us, for hours. I would go back to the boat and try to get out of the water, and he would come between me and the ladder, push me back out, and want me to keep playing. Marvelous experience. Back then you could touch things. This was a humongous old loggerhead turtle who probably lost part of that fin to a shark. I happen to like snakes. And one client said that they would go to the Hunter Rocks with me if I would handle the snakes for them. So that's me playing Medusa. And yes, they are venomous and they are sea snakes. However, if you do not strangle them and let them go to the surface when they need to breathe, you're probably okay. But I wouldn't advise anyone else to do this, especially not in these days. A lot of this stuff is 70s, guys. I started diving in 67. I love it when the fish just swarm around me and accept me. And especially when they totally are curious and they just come over and check you out, check out your port on your camera. This is my all-time favorite critter. About 1970, this was 3 years into my diving, I discovered Shed Aquarium was going to have a 90,000 gallon tank. And it was the largest body of salt water, and I wanted in it. Well, the director didn't want a woman, and there were no volunteers. And luckily I had friends who had played water polo with him and got me in there in about 6 weeks. We had 2 eels. This is Mort. They were 7 feet 1 inch long, both of them. And they would come out, one or the other, and just drape over my arm as I'm feeding the fish and talking to everyone. And I would pet them on the one side and they'd lean in, and pet them on the other and they'd lean in. I mean, I love these animals. And they actually ended up with cataract surgery. I did every dive for every weekend for 2 years. Yeah, can you come in? I have been sitting on top of jackhammers for 2.5 months. My voice is going to go, I'm sure.
Yeah.
My carbon monoxide alarm went off twice last week, and the fire alarm went off Friday. So my voice is really has been stretched. Anyway, Mort fell in love with him, absolutely, and Maria. So this was why I was a volunteer there. I was the first one ever to volunteer.
That's true, that's it.
So
She was a volunteer.
oh, great. And now there are 600 volunteers. But they didn't think they needed them until they tried to hire me. But the politics there are so bad that I didn't want to be hired. I said, I'll do this as a volunteer. I heard that sharks like yellow, so that's my yum yum yellow wetsuit. And if you notice, there's a
Tank.
Oh yeah. Well, they had one, so that had to be mine. And I've got a sack of Nikonoses because that's filled. You only had 36 exposures, and you couldn't change lenses underwater. So I was carrying about 5 Nikonoses, and I could plug them into that Subsea 150. This was Galapagos about 1971, and I got there in 70, 71, 72 for a month each. Airline deal was $150 a week, and the crew let me stay for an extra 3 weeks. Every time I went, I would take in shaving materials and all this kind of stuff. And we salvaged about 200 amphoras from James Bay for the museum in Ecuador. That was fun too. I love piers. I mean, I love gardening. If I'm not diving, I'm gardening. Am I standing in anyone's way? Is this okay? You sure? Okay. And I would just hang out at a pier. If you would just leave me there for a week, I'd be happy. I also love shoals of fish. And just go in. This one's doing a figure 8. And I love beautiful reefs with lots and lots of fish. This Titan trigger has just laid eggs, and luckily all these fish are devouring its eggs. Eat them all. Send in the great white sharks, just not the Titan triggers. Somewhere around 1980, I saw this, and I was in Anilau, and I talked to Dr. Chen Sevilla, who owned Dive 7000, which was the first place that, I can't hardly call it a resort, but it was it was made out of placemats mainly, but it was a place to be, and it was fabulous. This was blast fishing, and he told me about it. And I got home, and I got a call out of the blue from a guy who was a fish collector. And he said, we are going to start a foundation and save fish from blast fishing. But the Philippines is ruined, and we aren't going to even consider it. I said, wait a minute, I got the photographs to prove it's worth saving. So I used one of my little passes, and I went to Hingham, Massachusetts, and 5 PhDs, and I came up with the International Marinelife Alliance Foundation. Well, the other thing nice about flying was if we were on strike, I was out of the country, and I'd pay somebody to picket, and this happened to be a 6-month-long strike. So IMA needed photographs of the blast fishing. So I lived on an island with the fishermen, and I'm out there with the blast fishermen and the cyanide fishermen, living in my little hut. And this is us buying potassium nitrate bombs from a guy who's already missing his fingers. And one of the fishermen is lying a plastic cap. And I'm thinking maybe this walking the picket line is a little better than this. And they're blowing up the reef. But they were pretty good about not hitting a lot of the coral here. So they go in, and a lot of the fishers only picked up what floated on the surface. But these guys at least free dove down and picked up these fish. And you'll just see that it wrecks the reef. This one, absolutely, everything's in just tiny little pieces. And coral doesn't regenerate much with tiny pieces because the currents keep flipping them over, and it's really hard for it. And what we did was we taught the fishermen how to use hook and line and pull up the fish. I took in some needles. They could stick a needle in the bladder, which would decompress the fish. The fish would live. And they could get 10 times the amount of money for a fish that was alive than for a blasted fish. And what we found out by the foundation, when you go to Asia and you see these restaurants and you get to pick out the living fish and you think you've got the freshest one, prior to this, they had been cyanided. So this is a fellow who is putting sodium cyanide tablets into this seawater with his bare hands. And they squirt the bottle into the reef, and it stuns the fish, and it kills the coral. And they were selling them for aquarium fish and food fish. And they would get to the U.S. and die a couple of weeks later, and the aquarists think they, did something wrong and something. So we trained them how to use surround nets and hand nets, and they could get 10 times the amount of money for fish that were not cyanided. Well, we ended up having 7 labs that could go into all the exporters and test the fish for cyanide. And if they had cyanide, we could shut them down. So it was quite an operation. So I no more than got back from this, and IMA Canada calls, and they said, well, there's this reef in Ishigaki, Japan, and the Japanese want to build this runway over top of it. This is a blue coral, 600-year-old gorgeous reef. And I said, well, I don't have any time off, but I found 11 days of vacation they forgot to pay me for. So off to Ishigaki. And we were the first environmental group to shut down the Japanese on an environmental thing. As you can see here, I gotta use pipe. Oops. Down here, you can see that it's blue coral where it's broken off. And this was just one of the big reports that was done on this group. I got to dive with President Ramos on the very left, and Dr. Eddie Gomez, who was planting baby child clams. Then we have the crown of thorns sea star problems. And as the oceans warm, these things really proliferate. So if you see this, I think now maybe they are injecting them with vinegar. For a while it was bleach, and I didn't like that idea on the reefs, but maybe vinegar is better. However, we decided that we would string them up, and those spines are really nasty. You have to pick them up with chopsticks. And we strung them up like this. And in 2 days, we collected 1,500 of them at Devil's Point in Hanilau, which was one of my favorite dive sites. And I had to leave. And the next year, I'm talking to a friend from California Academy of Sciences. I said, how's the reef? I was just terrified we hadn't done enough. And he said, well, it's got the most number of soft coral, more than the whole Caribbean. So, and he said they didn't even see any. But here we are swimming them up to the boat. They're heavy. And I'm glad I didn't have to clean that boat. And then we found a beach that was not used, and we gave them a suntan. Now, the best thing about having critter finders is they protect their reefs. And I took those books in and I taught Sammy how to look for things. And I'd give him a list. I said, next year I come, I want to see this. It's in 200 feet. And I want to see this. When you've got the Japanese down there, remember where it is and take me there. And then he started taking the books and showing it to other people. Now, I didn't get all of these people trained, but we started it in like 1978-ish. And they came up with, your critter finders are everything. While you're shooting one, they're finding 5 of them, and they keep you really busy here. But they're protecting the reef. They're making more money. They don't have as many children. They're, finding you the best stuff. Some of these critter finders are making $25 a dive. And I go in with a list of 10 impossible things to find, even what color it is. And they'll come up with 9 of them. They say, well, that one's not in season right now. And they're right. You got to go there. It's in season. So here's Anilau, where I started. I was on a medical mission. I was in Guam and invited on a medical mission. Bill is living on President Marcos's yacht and cruising the Sulu Sea. Well, who's going to turn that down? I telex TWA, and I said, yeah, I'd laid on a stonefish. I wouldn't be around for a while. And went on this. Well, it was living on a Navy destroyer with 224 guys, goats tied to latrines, and lawn chairs on the deck. And that's where we were sleeping. It was still the best thing in the whole world. We started in Zamboanga. We went to Basilan, Holo, Tawi-Tawi, Fogao, Sabutu, and Seminole, all the way down almost to Borneo. Unbelievable. And I went to Admiral Aspaldone and asked him for a tank, and he sent a bunch of tanks for me and 7 Navy frogmen. So they would go down and swim fast and be out of the water in 20 minutes, and I would stay down there for an hour or 2, and then they would do practice shooting. And so I'm thinking, I better make this really long dives because I could be dead when I get out of the water. But anyway, this area in Anilau and Puerto Galera is called the Verde Island Halo. And the scientists have declared that the very richest area in the entire world. On the left, you have Lawrence Haney, who is at the Field Museum, and he has discovered more mammals on Luzon than anywhere else. Next is Dr. Kent Carpenter, who said there are more reef fish in the Philippines than anywhere. And on the right is Robert Suntai, and he's an Emmy Award-winning videographer. And then my buddy, Dr. Cherry Goslinger, in the green shirt, he's one of about 4 people in the world that can name nudibranchs. And the last time I talked to him, he had 800 to name. And then the other guy is Rich Moy, and he's the echinoderm expert. And literally, when I got to Anilau in 75, I declared that it was littered with nudibranchs. And this one was especially out there. But I was dumb enough not to know that it had never been named, and it took till 1997 and Terry to name it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of my favorites. I love that one. And then I'm enamored with Spanish dancers. That I took in 1978 at Chimataha. And I like to tell stories and show whole things that, the whole life cycle. But these undulate through the water.
Neat.
And here's one that's stopped undulating, it's just settling down and lands on the floor of the ocean. You'll notice the little shrimp.
That's cool.
You have a close-up of the shrimp.
Is this Kodachrome?
Got probably this one.
It's either Kodachrome or Fujichrome.
Oh, okay.
And we all thought until I saw Terry about a year ago, and there's now 3 species of Spanish dancers. There used to only be 1. And this was on a full moon night, and I hate night dives on full moon nights. I like no moon nights. But there were Spanish dancers mating. I was so excited. And a week later, they were laying eggs. Now they're hermaphroditic, so they both go off and lay eggs. You can never have enough Spanish dancers or other breaks. And when somebody asks me, what is that rose that's on the reefs? It's Spanish dancer eggs.
That's cool.
And here they are getting close to hatching. And it seems like I always have to catch a flight home by 2 or 3 months of ending about the time I want to see stuff hatching. There are a lot of ways you contribute to science if you're a photographer underwater. This particular dodo nudibranch at the bottom, when Terry was looking at my work, it's that particular night anemone. And they had no idea what its food source was. But just a few nudibranchs. These are the butterflies of the sea. You can see when they were named and who named them. I think there are 5,000 species, some the size of rice, and some that weigh 1 kilo. But they're just beautiful, and that was the first thing that drew me to the Philippines. Now there's 14 before this that need naming. And they're the only species I know of that can eat and mate at the same time. And here you see them mating. The amazing thing is how many eggs come out of these little critters. I mean, look at this. Where do they all come from? I saw this one at the end of a dive, and I told the guide, I said, I want to come back here, and I want to see it. And we took our surface interval and went back in. I'm doing that all the time. And at the end of the second dive, this nudibranch has laid that many eggs, and it's still laying eggs. Now, where are they storing these? That picture is from 1980. It's an anemone that I really love, and Nat Geo called it a perfect picture, so I went back to find it. And I've been visiting every year until 2019. I haven't gotten back to Anilau since then. In 1988, there was a typhoon. This normally lives in 40 feet of water, and it was in 90 feet. So I went down and I went to my room and I thought about it. I thought, no, I've got to save it because it really looked pretty bad. They need some sun and some algae. So I went down and peeled it off and got stung and put it back in 40 feet. And hopefully it's still there. I'm dying to get back here and see it. It has different anemone fish. These are pink skunks. Well, I love eels. This is Cathedral at night with all the tabastria out. This one's smiling. This one's crossing his eyes. And it's like, okay, enough already. And that is a golden eel. I've only seen 3 of them in the wild. I saw one in an aquarium shop that they wanted $800 for. But I want someone to explain how, why. Oops, wait a minute. There. Notice, why do these fish wave their tails at predators? And you see it all the time. I mean, big eels and I have a little fish and they're just waving their tails. And no one can explain this. I'd love to have someone figure that out. Then you have the ribbon eels. These are about 1 foot about a yard long. The black ones are juvenile. He's kind of turning blue. When they're blue, they're male. And when they're yellow, they're female or terminal. And this is an eel going to the dentist.
God.
This is a cleaner shrimp. He's not going to eat it. This was 10 o'clock one morning, and this eel came charging out, grabbed this jack, and it was a good day for the photographer, and not such a great day for the jack. Then you get the little guys. This is living in like a Coke bottle. And the one on the right is cleaning house.
Right. Jim's got that listener.
And here we have a double scorpion fish in a different position. Take the picture. I mean, if you know how many double scorpions you've got, but if they're in a different position, take that shot. We have about 10 species of lion in the Pacific, and they're fine there. Obviously, they are not good for the Caribbean, but I'm just hoping they don't kill them in the Pacific.
You know, this is the one bag for that.
I'm sorry?
The previous red extra.
Oh, it's a sponge. It's lying on a sponge. And I wanted to get the whole wing in, and my guide had found something and pulled me away from it. It's just a lionfish. Well, it's got nice lines. This is another thing. If you know your fish, and I saw this lionfish, and I thought, I've never seen that, even in a book or anywhere. And we're talking about 1980s again. And I'll picture the wings of it were blue. I have a gal friend since 1976 in Manila who's a fish exporter. And she has books, and I went through about 10 books and found that it was only known in Japan. Well, here it is in the Philippines. We have proof of it, so you can extend the habitat. So it's another thing you can contribute. And my export friend, when we canceled out all of the cyanide and so forth, bought us nets and did everything, and her shop never shipped out any more cyanided fish. Because we all love Rhinopius. This is Rhinopius frondosa. And I saw on Facebook that they had a red one in Anilau. And so for my birthday, they took me down to 100 feet. And maybe some of the people here were there with me. They photographed the red Rhinopius frondosa. I love purple. And then they had this one hidden. This is the lacy one. And I know Eric was there with this one. I went back 4 times to finally get him with the wide open pouch. I will sit around, I will hover for hours to get the shot that I want, or I will go back day after day until I get the shot that I want.
Yeah.
This was 2005. I was finally going to try and give up film. I was having a horrible time, and I decided that if I gave up photography, I would get homes for homeless octopus. So I found this gorgeous empty shell, and then carrying it around, and then carrying this camera around, and I hate it. But the night before I played with it, finally got it to do something. I put the shell down, and before I could pick up that camera and shoot it, it just owned it.
Oh, cool.
And it closed it up, and it looked at me. So I'm just hovering there and breathing, and we're in 30 feet. And finally it decided, okay, she's not going to hurt me. And it starts heaving this heavy shell around. And I've got, probably 30 pictures of this. And then a gal friend came by, and bang. Okay, this is not checked out yet. And I'd been there 45 minutes or so, and I'll give her that. Well, I left Anilau for 3 weeks. I went to other places in the Philippines and came back, and on a night dive, my guide found my homeless octopus's new home, and it had moved from 30 feet to 10 and about the size of a football field down the reef, and it was there. I mean, I cried. It was like, oh, I can give homes to homeless octopus.
Yes.
I love blue rings, and you just can't find it without, looking forever, and a guide is the best thing for you. Tell them what you want. Blue rings are gorgeous. And yes, they're venomous, but they aren't going to attack you. And they're tiny. And they're just gorgeous. There are 4 species of blue rings. This is an ocellated one with eggs. And of course, we have mimics, and they can mimic like 10 different animals, so I'll not show you that tonight. And we have wonderpuss, and they just can hover over their critter and surround it.
God.
This one is looking at my port, and he hasn't decided whether he wants to fight it or admire itself.
Did he?
Yeah. This was one of those shots where I saw it and I didn't get it. And 3 years later, finally I got this behavior. And I just love the wonderful standing up. And all he needs to do is pick up his leg and go like this. He's looking for dinner. And it's just so, I've only seen it twice. Now I'm going to take you to Tubataha. And this is, oh, wait a minute, we should go back one. All right. Oh. No, really good. Okay. Sorry.
What?
I'm trying to learn how to use this. Well,
Yeah.
all right, Manila's up here. Fly down to Puerto Princesa. It's caught an arch, isn't it? And then it's a 12-hour run out to Tubataha. And it's per student. I got here in 1978, and I still have dreams. So on that 12-hour run, you might see all kinds of good things. This is my favorite boat. Only takes 10 passengers now. It used to take 12. It's all been redone. I've been diving with this crew since the 80s. They know where to put you. They know where to find everything. It's magic. It's expensive, but it's worth it. This is South Tubataha on high tide. And that's South Tubataha on low tide.
Is this just a small island?
It's just an atoll. This is why it has to be a liveaboard. And it's only diveable March, April, May. I personally wouldn't go in March. And there are boats that go out there, and I wouldn't waste my money going in at a time. It's the weather. But this keeps it pristine. I mean, it's 12 hours away from everybody. It's out there and only diveable a couple of months a year. That's why it is what it is. And that's Jesse Beasley at low tide, and it's gone at high tide. That's part of Tubataha. This is the ranger station. We have rangers out here 24/7, 365 or 366 days a year. They go out 2 months at a time. And they're amazing. That is my kind of day. This is why I book April, May. And these are just glorious reefs. And the crew puts you in where there's a light current, and you just kind of drift down the walls and shoot seascapes.
What?
I've got huge gorgonias. Huge sponges. Just lots and lots of color. Perfect coral reefs. That's Ernie Brooks. I told him that, I'd give him another job he could model for me. He's the Ansel Adams of underwater. or was. We have one reef that's got a lot of yellow soft corals on it. Then there's this reef, and I don't think there's one anywhere else. It's acres and acres of staghorn. It's called staghorn reef. I first saw it in '78, and I've always want to go back and make sure that it's still pristine, but it never got blasted, and it's never been hurt by typhoons. Didn't have anchors hitting it. It's unbelievable. And yeah, it could be boring, but there's all kinds of stuff on it. Schools and schools of fish. These are jacks. I mean, that's a 10 millimeter lens, and I can only get half of the school in. An African pompano came by and checked me out. Schools of Cuda, that's a small one. Usually they're bigger. Cuda's on top of jacks. Batfish checking me out. I love them. Schools of snapper. I should say shoals now, I guess. Shoals of casios. Shoals of surgeonfish. And I'm always spinning around looking at her face. And my dive friends are not noticing that the surgeonfish are playing in their bubbles.
Was that Pam?
Sorry?
Was that Pam?
No.
Okay.
It was Alex Rose and Susan Copolis. Then we have tuna racing down the walls. Those are kind of hard to chase down. And one day you have to put on like a 60 millimeter lens and go looking at things in the reefs. Blueface angel. My favorite are majestic angels. This is an emperor angel about the size of a quarter, who grows up to look like this. And I shot this around 1980 out here and described it, because of course we didn't have digital then, to scientists. And they said, well, it's an anthias. I said, no, it cannot be an anthias. I think it took 20 years to find it in a book. And it took till 2016 to shoot it. That becomes a mask grouper. And it's the first one I'd ever seen. And I had looked for it once I saw it in the book. But they live in the crevices. I mean, it just disappears. They go, oh. Now, this is called a yellow-tailed chloris. That's a juvenile who grows up to look like this. And this is my favorite. This is a male square anthias. Now, when I see these, I know I'm in exactly 60 feet. And he has 8 or 12 girlfriends who are yellow. Now, if he dies, the dominant female becomes male. And this took 20 years to finally find one in transition. Peace. And on a night dive, you might get to see some seahorses and all of that. But during the day, I mean, you got 200 feet visibility. You're not going to go looking for much of the little stuff. You want the big stuff. I just put on a wide-angle lens and go for it. And I love long-nosed hawkfish. And I'll get in trouble here, but I do think that fish have feelings. And these are wrapped up together at night in a gorgonian. And I mean, you know, they have feelings for each other.
He just dined on pygmy sea persons. Like,
Pardon?
he just dined on some pygmy
They were asleep.
Now they're sleeping it off.
That could be. Well, I got obsessed with flashlight fish in the 80s. And I forgot about them, kind of. Oh, excuse me, nurse. Voice of mine is going to go. So you go out about dusk and hang out around Tubataha or Apple Island. Apple Reef, not Apple Island. Maybe Apple Island, but I'm never there at night. But anyway, they come up at dusk and they go into caves. And you watch them by the light in their eyes, and then you shoot them and hit them with a strobe. And then they go crazy, and you gotta wait till they calm down, and maybe you get a second shot. But amazing fish. And I can't decide if that's photobletharon or animal ops. I thought it was photobletharon, but I could be wrong. We have big schools of bumpheads. I'm still waiting to get in it. We had them spawning last time. And these beaks are great for the coral, and they're, crunching the algae off of it. And years ago in Bimini, my buddies were spear fishermen, and they did it free diving, and we hung a head off the boat, and it got the food off of the beak. And then you see that they have grinders back in their throats. So when they eat that coral, then they grind it up. And all that white sand that you like is parrotfish poop.
Step up.
Here we have sea cucumbers spawning, messing up the visibility.
Hey.
And that's Leandro Blanco, who I brought here to give me shows. Notice how dirty the shell is on this. The ones in Tubataha I haven't learned like the ones in Apple Island. But they're tame. They're not, chased or anything else. So they'll pose for you. We have mantis. Now, something else you can do with your cameras, if you can get underneath a manta. This is the fingerprint. And you get this, and you can set it off. And they can trace where the manta is.
Let's see. Oh. Nice.
This particular one must have gotten tangled in some fishing line or netting or something, and this cephalic fin is bad. I've got to track and see if it's still alive. That's got to make eating hard. Here we have lots of sharks out here. That's the difference between Apple and Tubataha. Sharks, white tips, black tips, lots of gray reefs. A shiver of baby gray reefs. I actually shot that with a 60 millimeter from quite a ways away.
Oh.
And every so often we get a whale shark. Now they always seem to have a jack buddy. We're going to leave Tubataha now. And we're going to go to Dugattis. So you've got about an hour and 20-minute ride up to Dillon, and about an hour and 10 minutes stop with Jim McKinney, right across from Apple Hudson and Cebu. Path was right in here. And Cebu Island. Cebu City, Cebu Island, it's confusing. And this is the boulder that you go into at Apple Island. Now this is almost as good as Tubataha. This is the healthiest coral you're going to see. Awesome. And it's just coral growing on top of coral. That's Nancy McGee. And notice how clean the turtles are here. And I mean, even if you're a snorkeler, and this is shallow water. But literally, coral is on top of coral.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know, but they have tentacles, and they reach over to the coral next to them, and they sweep against it, trying to kill that coral so it can take over the space. And again, you can just get in with a gentle current and then go along and shoot corals. That's what black coral looks like when it's alive.
So.
Lots of gorgonians. Beautiful island. I happen to love red anemones, so I always tell my guides when they see one, call me over. And you can't do a show without Nemo. Oops, we have orange skunk clowns. This happens to be the female maroon or spine cheek anemone. And this is the male. Now, as the female dies, the males become female. The dominant male becomes black. Here we have saddleback anemone fish tending to eggs. And these tiny eggs, when they hatch, drift in the plankton. And it's just amazing because they have to find the right anemone. There are some species that only live in certain types of anemones. And I mean, they're out there as plankton, they're getting eaten by everything, and how do they find the right anemone and keep on living? It's a miracle. So I had to have my red anemone with eggs. And I got the male cleaning the eggs. You'll notice this little fin on the right, sweeping the eggs and aerating them. And I got the last picture I could, and they didn't hatch, and I have to go home. And I mean, I literally am driving out of the water, packing my camera and my wetsuit, getting on an airplane. Now, you think these little anemone fish are sweet. This guy has taken on that hawksbill turtle, and he is pecking the heck out of it. And he won. The turtle left. We got huge anemones. I do think I need a bigger anemone. And in those anemones, you'll find all kinds of shrimps and crabs and so forth. That's a porcelain crab that's a little bit bigger than a nickel. And it's filtering, probably catching the clownfish eggs. And of course, we divers have to have frogfish. And that's the lure on the right there. So let's see if I can make this work. Well, wait a minute, there we go. That's the lure. And they're just really strange. I mean, where you see that little green, that's where they exhale out of their armpit. The guides are really good. I mean, I used to tell them those are eggs, call me when it gets larger. And then I thought, no, get him to put his hand down there and prove when he's flying. But you don't want to, mess the sand up because there's hundreds of these little eggs out there. They're just amazing. And the camouflage of frogfish, incredible. And this one's even fishing for me. This one is fishing by the light of my camera at night. And here's the male. Trying not to get eaten by her and hoping. They call this a wart skin frogfish. This is the juvenile. Can be any color. And when it's an adult, you'll understand why they call it a wart skin. That's an ocellated one. That's fairly rare. And while my critter finder is looking for things, I like to find colorful things. So this is just a tube anemone. And that's my all-time favorite tube anemone. But some of these things have color that's just unbelievable. Even the plume worms in the ocean are gorgeous. If you pull them out, they have what looks like an earthworm in that tube. Got all kinds of colors and species. We've got flamboyant cuttlefish. Here we have one searching for lunch, a little male after a female. Normally the females are much larger than the males. Flamboyant cuttlefish eggs, and one about to hatch.
How big are those eggs?
What?
How big are these eggs?
About like that. Now I've gone from nudibranchs to crabs, and all of a sudden I think crabs are really, really interesting. This happens to be a right squat lobster. This is an orangutan crab. That's the best one I've ever found. But they molt, and then they've got to put all this stuff back on those shells. Really well camouflaged. Here you have an urchin carrying crab. That's a fire urchin. I touched one in 1980, and I've never touched one again. And I did it accidentally. I'm very sure it's not going to happen even accidentally anymore. Here we have a jellyfish carry crab. Very good defense. This is the only one I've ever seen with tunicates. Now, these little guys, these mantis shrimps, are just amazing little critters. This one has lots and lots of eggs. They don't hatch for about 40 days. You can see the eyes and the eggs of that one. But they have a punch that reaches speeds of a .22 caliber bullet. And it actually produces temperatures up to like a fraction of a second, the surface of the sun. They're amazing. They can break out of an aquarium and kill themselves. But they're gorgeous little critters. I personally want an eye transplant from one of these. You can see the eyes and the eggs of this one. But they have the most complex visual systems. They have up to 16 photoreceptors. You can see UV, visible, and polarized light. Each eye can turn independently. I mean, instead of cataract surgery, I want a new mantis shrimp eye. But these are the turtles in Apple. And there's usually about 15 or there any day. And look how clean they are. I've got a video of them.
In sequel?
This is Apple.
Oh, Apple. Not Apple.
Yeah, we're still in Apple. And they're just everywhere, lying in all this coral, soft coral, and picking out the good stuff. And I had Nat Geo there for 6 weeks, and I took them through 7 areas of the Philippines, and I would try to stay away from where David Duboulay and John Hayes were shooting, and Leandro. And I found this turtle with this salmon color. I've never seen that color. I don't know what it's eating. And I'm just hovering there, and it's eating, and then it comes by and it practically hits me as it goes up and gets air. And then it comes back down. Oh, you can tell the males because they have really long tails. And it comes right back down and continues eating. And I probably have 50 pictures of it. And this was probably an hour later, and I was leaving. So now, we're going to go to Oslo from Dumaguete or Darwin. And I can guarantee you whale sharks here. Usually there are about 15 of them. For 37 years, I was in the Red Sea, and the whale shark would be I'd be in the near garden, it would be at the far garden. So the next day I'd go to the far garden, it'd be at the near garden. So I went for about 37 years before I ever saw a whale shark. The fishermen go out about 6 in the morning, and they drop shrimp and krill and stuff in the water, and whichever ones want to follow them back in, they do. And Azure Resort is the only one that will let you scuba dive. They've got permission to take you scuba diving with them. Otherwise, you get on these little canoes. And of course, if you don't dive, you also can see them. And I know that's a big thing where people argue about it, but if you don't see it and love it, you're not going to want to protect it. And they're not killing them anymore. But it's the greatest place to shoot whale sharks. Absolutely guaranteed. And again, if you will shoot the right side of them and turn the photograph in, it's like fingerprints for whale sharks. So it's another thing you can do with your photography. And they talked about how these bubbles were going to really upset these whale sharks. Well, this one's lying there. You know, I'm having a great massage. I can see it's really being upset about this. And I love this bunk hero. Free Wi-Fi on board. Now, if you stay at a motel near here, you can't get Wi-Fi. So he has a good sense of humor. Well, I'd like to hire this model next time. She just came whipping through, and it was like, yay! They're about 20 feet, 25 feet here. And they can grow to 40 feet. That's my 10 millimeter, and I can only get 4 of them in my 10 millimeter. Now we're going to just take a quick turn to Puerto Galera. And I happen to love the canyons. This is hole in the wall. And the canyons are about 90 feet of water, and you hope that you can find somebody to get you there when it's not a raging current, just a light current. And you dive in. It's just covered in all the soft coral. And the trick is you duck into the crevice and you shoot your pictures, and then you let go and the current rips you into the next one and go down, take your pictures.
Okay.
The turtle did not get the message that you're not supposed to do that to the coral. Anyway, it's hard to take a bad picture down here. It's just so colorful. This is all the toxins from my garage. When you find the anchor, you know your dive is over. So we've got seahorses, pygmy seahorses. Oh, cleaning stations. You could just drop me in a cleaning station for a week and just watch all the fish that you can't approach come in and get cleaned. This is when the cleaner fish is saying, "You got bad breath, man. I'm not doing that." They get in the gills, they do the eyes. These are really brave ones.
Son.
Got fabulous shrimp, that's in a sponge. Dragon shrimp, tiger shrimp, glass shrimp. And you can count the eggs in these. Everybody loves harlequin shrimp. And they eat sea stars. What do they do with it? Oh, here we go. And you can see right here they've got holes eaten, and they will live on this and eat away until most of it's gone. However, a superpower is if one leg is left, it can regenerate the rest of its body. But we wish we could do that and get new knees and hips and whatever else we're getting replaced. This is a long-nosed filefish designed by Picasso. I love personalities. Here we've got a callfish that's got horns. And then the trunkfish don't have horns. And I've only once seen this color, so I went crazy. I gotta show that one off a bit. And I looked for about 5 years for stargazers. And they were right in the sand in front of the resort in Puerto Galera. But I got back to the room and I looked at my camera and I thought, I remembered that they have lures. So I took my buddy into going back out. And this was the lure this has. Can you imagine having that in your mouth forever? But it was very good at attracting fish. So whatever works. Now, we're going to go to Malapaska, and this is at the very north end of Cebu Island. And this is where you're going to see thresher sharks. Now, this is Monad Shoal a couple of years ago, and now they found one called Kimud. And this one you've got to go to about 90 feet, and you are not allowed to use soaps or anything, but they still shine. And the Kimud ones are very shallow, and they're not only just seeing threshers, they're seeing tigers and hammerheads, and they even had it's getting the name of a couple things. Okay. But they've got big eyes, small mouths, and there's the cleaner doing its job. It's the only time I've ever wanted to put my camera down. These are the most graceful animals in the whole world. And I gotta get back here. So we've got all this beautiful planet, and we've just destroyed it in my lifetime. Whoa, that's
Sorry.
wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
So then what can we do to turn some of this around? And plastic's our biggest thing. I cannot believe that people do not pick up after themselves, that they don't recycle, that it just, I bought a book in 1970 called 50 Simple Things You Can Do to Save the Planet. It's so simple, and people don't do it. I don't get it. And this is nothing. I mean, there are 5 gyres the size of Texas, all the way down to 90 feet out there in the Pacific Oceans. Now we've got one in the Atlantic Ocean too. And we're just ruining our home. And now we've got a war going on and blowing up everything else, and all this is going to be a landfill and insanity. And
You know what the worst is? Even when you do recycle, there was a documentary that a lot of it's getting sent to Indonesia.
I know.
It winds up either getting burned or in the ocean there.
I know. I mean, it's just, we have got so much work to do. And it just almost feels impossible. But if you see something to do, get involved. But turtles eat plastic, and whale sharks, even cows and horses and dogs. And I mean, people just need, and I'm preaching to the choir here. I mean, you go in a parking lot and there's all these masks all over that people just throw away. And they can't even take it home and put it in a wastebasket and cut the strings. And it blows my mind. It won't kill you not to release balloons, but it may kill somebody else if you do. I mean, that's another thing that we could stop. However, I just noticed that 11 states passed no balloon release bans. And Illinois is introducing a bill to also ban it. So let's get behind it. Let's send notes to our congressmen. Let's send notes to the next president. Whatever it takes to get these banned. I mean, it just irritates the heck out of me when you see Clemson releasing a gazillion balloons before a game. This should be outlawed. It's just, and you know, somebody dies, so you got to send up balloons and kill something else. It drives me nuts. Now, how long until it's gone? Plastic bottles, 450 years. Fishing line, which kills stuff, 600 years. I mean, disposable diapers, 450 years. We got to do better. Then we've got all this runoff from farms and our yards and everything else. Do we really want to drink this? I mean, we've got a thing going on in Lake Michigan now where they want to put a tunnel in, and they're fighting it in Michigan. And so sign the petitions and stop this company from getting this tunnel redone. Pardon?
What's the point of it? And why do they want to build this one?
No, because you can get rid of stuff. It disappears into your drinking water. We have 21% of the fresh water in the entire world, and we want to dump stuff in it. I mean, none of this makes any sense. This is my pie chart of global warming, coral warming. This is alive. This is stretched, but if the water gets cool again, this could survive. This is dead. It's already got tunicates growing over top of it. But I want to leave you with my latest addiction, which is blackwater diving. And this is drifting over 500 to 1,000 feet. Nothing to judge where you are, except you stay with the boat, and they put a ladder with lights every 10 feet down to about 60 feet. And you really want to watch your computer, or you're deep before you know it. But it's just fabulous. It's the greatest migration in the world, every single night. And what we divers can do is get the pictures, show the scientists. We're showing them things that they only could bring up in submarines, and they were always mushy by the time they got them. And now we're showing them fish and larvae that in, full display.
Charles really appreciates blackwater.
I'm sorry?
I said I would say Charles really appreciates blackwater, not big.
Oh, we love it.
So one time I got eaten alive with blackwater.
Yeah.
It's so hard to photograph on blackwater dives, though. I don't.
Well, once you get set up,
Leaving.
home in,
You have to get used to it.
and you can't change settings. I mean, you're drifting and everything else, and you can't. Maybe in a little camera, but my 32-pound camera, no. This is a mantis shrimp larva, jellyfish larva, anemone larva.
I'm sorry, you photograph these?
I'm sorry?
You photograph these?
Oh, yeah.
How small are these?
Oh,
Okay, that's
a 60 millimeter lens works pretty well. And then I have a thing I can flip down on it and make it like maybe 5 times bigger. The squid down there are gorgeous. When they come in some of the ones that they're getting, and I've only done like 3 blackwater dives.
Ghost pipe.
Yes, ghost pipefish. I don't know what's going on right now. I haven't slept in weeks. They start pounding at 8 in the morning, and I'm a night person, so I'm absolutely out of it. Jellyfish are usually have a fish with it. This Jack has found something that he can drive around and be safe. And it actually can get inside, and you don't even hardly know it's there. You can see the tail sticking out. So that's it, folks. This was the... So let's see, this is Jennifer Hayes, Barry Hayes, Rihanna Blanco. Kennedy Warren, the writer, was somewhere else for this. I have to show you just one more thing.
Yeah.
And this isn't my photo. But here's... Okay, where are you? Here's my bucket list. This is a blanket octopus. And they can be 3 feet long. And this is one of my buddy's shots. But that's my bucket list.
Questions for Lynn?
I was curious about your cameras and your experience with photography. Did you study photography? Did you
I just took it out and did stuff with it.
Learn by doing.
And what type of camera setup?
I've been a Nikon fan, so I can keep all my lenses, but actually when it went from film to digital, the lenses were so much better that you have to reinvest anyway. But I have two old Nikons, one D7000 and a D7200. I mostly shoot with a 60mm or a 10mm for wide angle. It weighs 32 to 37 pounds depending on what I've got in it, but it's perfectly balanced through the wire.
So it's a house.
Yeah. I mean, there's lead in the housing, so the housing doesn't float and all of that.
It's pretty.
Then you've got,
Oh, really?
We have a handle too on that help.
Yeah.
pardon?
Yeah, if you have a handle you put out to help lift up the maps on your camera. I mean, you have a handle, not you, that you put on.
Well, I've got, handles on each side of the
Oh
stove.
well, yeah. Did you get? I bet you got the handle of the hot book stepped on the picture stick. You and that was down below. No, okay, never mind. Sorry.
I will say that I think it was clear, like, all the guys know Lynn. Everybody knows Lynn there. And you get really incredible opportunities, but it is a little bit depressing when you look at your shots. But it's fantastic. The trip that we did was actually one of the best scuba diving, and just the nature of it. We were on Lynn was mentioning she loves piers, and we were on the pier, and it was a closed off pier, and we may have swam a little bit close to the pier, and the Coast Guard came up, and I'm like, oh, we're going to be in trouble now. Okay, at least one of the boat captains just yelled, hey, it's Lynn, and turned around and went away.
Sauce. Nice.
Well, and the other thing, Azure is owned by a Filipino man and wife and so forth. So we can dive piers. We get to dive in scuba for the whale sharks. Nobody else does. All these other fabulous resorts can't do that.
And Lynn has contacts.
Well, I've been there for,
Everywhere.
And I love
And I think that helps so
Filipinos.
much. And
I love my Filipinos.
When's next step?
Right.
Probably, well, if we still have a planet left next year, it'll be April, May, and we can do Anilao first, and then go to Tubataha, and then we go to Dumaguete, and then go dive with the pressure sharks in Malapascua.
Now, do you have a trip this year?
I canceled yesterday.
Oh, no.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you don't think about the Philippines being in this mess. However, we have now just given China no excuse to go and bomb Taiwan. They've already stolen the Spratly Islands in the Philippines. They built, and this was even better than Tubataha, and they built huge runways over it. They've taken out all the, well, it's for the oil. Filipinos can't go there. They actually fire on our aircraft if we fly over now. Now, this was Philippine property. And so if they're going to take on Taiwan and Philippines and Japan, who knows? And discussed it with a couple people, and we decided that this is not a really good time right now to go. And I mean, I am still so brokenhearted and somewhat shaking because that boat is owned by people I've known since the 80s, and I had to cancel it. And they understood. They said, we are feeling problems here too. And I mean, yesterday I just wanted to cry all day because I had to cancel those trips. And, but I didn't want to be responsible for things happening. And like Charles said, he just barely made it out of Tanzania. And now I just don't want to put anybody else into that. And I miss my friends. and my anemone and all my critters.
And the sentiment toward U.S. citizens changed the flight rules. You don't know. Unfortunately.
No.
Blame them for it changing.
So anyway, if you want to go next year, let me know, and what you want to see, tell me, and we'll set you up. Give my critter finders your list of what you want to see.
So on a slightly happier note, I can say something about one of your favorite critter finders. So when the trip that I was on, I was fortunate enough to dive with Oak. Right. And Lynn knows he's fantastic. But he had this mode that he'd point things out to you, right? So his normal pointer was like a muck stick. So if I saw him pull out the muck stick, that was great, and I knew what to do with my camera so that I could take a picture of what he was going to do, because the muck stick's it's like the size of a pencil, right? And then he had this small zip tie, as you would point at things too. So then I knew that it was really small, so I could put like my super macro lens on. I think I could probably be okay. And then his third pointer was a wire. And when I pulled that thing off, I'm like, no. I might look, but whatever he's got is like the size of a grain of rice, and I can't.
Well, wire teams.
Like
Hair?
18 to 20.
Oh, these guys have eyes that you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But the nice, and we call it the bamboo telegraph. But they tell each other where things are, and that.
On the down low.
And he was with when we found the purple rhinopias, and it was on a diaper of all things. Yeah.
The trash.
So luckily, when I went back for third and fourth times, it had moved. But
There's a question over here.
So it's very obvious that you have such a deep appreciation for the environment that you're in, and the things that you're photographing, everything's super cool. So I'm sure for you, there's never a dull moment when you're doing this, obviously. But with how diverse, his ecology is at these places, and given how long you've been doing this for, is it still every time you go, is there something that you find every time, or is
Yes. Especially in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a new critter, it's a new behavior, it's something that's been on my list forever, and the guys keep coming up with more stuff. I mean, something might only live at 200 feet from me, just buzz down and grab it, go back up. It's not boring.
Oh,
Not for a second. It's just, wow.
so much there. It's at a point it's seeing all except the most rare things, or is it just every time there's something fresh?
And I mean, half of the stuff hasn't been named. It's there, and there's so much of it, you think it's been named, and it hasn't. That's crazy. And I've been really lucky to have scientists friends. That was another thing about being a volunteer at Shed Aquarium. Pick the brains of the aquarists, follow them around. They've got a really great library when you're not, in the water or doing whatever it is you're doing. I learned so much. I went on collecting trips, which I learned how to collect fish and all of that with them, so that I was able to do that with IMA. And it's just weird what you can pick up. And, I was a home ec major in college because I had a choice of being a secretary, a teacher, or a nurse. And my mother was a nurse, so I was a nurse. I would have died being a secretary or a teacher because I just couldn't sit still or be still. And I needed to be outside. And so I just lucked out that the airline was interviewing people by senior year. And I'd never been on an airplane. Flew on United and signed up for 5 more airlines to send my resume in just to the flight. I was engaged. I wasn't going to go fly. I packed and unpacked 7 times for TWA, and finally, thank goodness,
Sidewalkers.
saved my life. I grew up in Napoleon, Ohio, and I escaped. So I mean, I never planned any of this. I've had such a great time that, it's just, I just lucked out. But I grabbed everything I could. Hey, we're collecting in Palau. Great. 3 pass. We're collecting in Hawaii. Wonderful.
Definitely.
And I mean, I just learned. I had 500 gallons of saltwater running in my little apartment. And I didn't want to start tanks, but I was learning too much. And then finally I shut it all down and decided that, I only want to see it in the water.
Did you grab what? And you back one time?
Oh, yeah. Well, Lolita allowed me to go through and pick out all the prime stuff in her fish shipping business. I mean, literally, she had, they were going to kill her because of what she did with IMA and so forth. And she really helped us out a lot. But I mean, we changed things. And we didn't stop all the blast fishing. It still goes on. There's 7,641 islands, and you can't, police all of them. And, it goes on in Indonesia and some of these other places. But, when they see that, hey, we're not killing our reef, we don't need to buy a bigger boat and a bigger engine and go further away from home. We have our healthy reefs and we can, get our aquarium fish here and so forth. And while I'd like it to stop, they need to make a living. So, whatever.
Other questions?
Any more questions?
All right. Let's
Okay.
thank Lynn again.